This is Neroke 5. I'm going to be doing these videos until I die or I find something better to do. So please help me achieve this noble objective by contributing to my Patreon. Link is down below. Thank you very much. So yeah, first of all, if you're listening to the second part without listening to the first part, you need to stop, go back, listen to the first part, and then come to listen to this part. Now, I did a commentary on the first part of this as well. The second part is more of a summation, but here in this particular section, this half of the video is the part where she starts really shaming people and starts showing demanding but suggesting actions. Now, again, I said this when in my first commentary on the first part, and I want to say it again here on the second part as well. It is very clear to me through the advantage of hindsight, because again, this particular TED Talk was done by Ashley Judd a month or two before the 2016 presidential election. The part that really stands out to me about this is the fact that had Hillary Clinton gotten elected, the stuff that we're seeing now in 2019 with Facebook and Twitter and all the social media companies attempting to literally unperson the opposition to the establishment the way they're doing it, especially the people on the right, which is, oddly enough, is I'm not a person on the right. I've always been left wing. It's just frightening, because if you listen to this, you are seeing private corporations attempting to do this, and had Hillary won, we would have been dealing with this back in 2017. Now, I'm not going to say, I mean, it delayed it for a couple of years, but yeah, the bomb is still going to go off. And there's even a blog on redpillnation@wordpress.com where I speculate as to what was going to happen had Trump won versus whether Hillary won. And looking back on it, it looks almost as if it was going to happen this way. But anyway, have a listen to the second part. Discussion is open down below. I hope you enjoy doing this, and it took me a lot longer than I thought it was going to do to actually get this done. So yeah, I apologize for that. This is a little late in coming, but it's one of those videos that you look at, and you look at something like this in hindsight, and you go, oh wow, they were planning this right from the start. Think about that.
So I have all these resources that I'm keenly aware so many people in the world do not. I was able to start the Speech Project with colleagues. I can often get a social media company's attention. I have a wonderful visit to Facebook HQ coming up.
You know, funny how it is, it's always the feminists and the progressives and the social justice warriors that somehow always seem to have a nice open door to Twitter and Google and Facebook. Like, it's never the opposition. And you kind of wonder why things have gone the way they've gone. I mean, yeah, I did a topic on Red Pill Nation Hangout specifically covering this, and the fact that both of Mark Zuckerberg's sisters are both feminists, and one of them even wrote an article on online misogyny where she intentionally, I suspect, ignored misandry. But yeah, she gets a visit, we don't. Stop and think about that.
Hasn't helped the idiotic reporting standards yet. I actually pay someone to scrub my social media feeds.
My name is Ashley Judd, and I live in a bubble. And I can't stand dissenting opinion, so I have someone screen it for me so that I can stay in my nice, safe hug space. That's what it sounds like to me. You think differently, feel free to pipe up.
Attempting to spare my brain the daily iterations of the trauma of hate speech. And guess what? I get hate speech for that. Oh, you live in an echo chamber. Well, guess what? Having someone post a photograph of me with my mouth open saying they can't wait to come on my face, I have a right to set that boundary. Okay. And this distinction between virtual and real is specious, because guess what? That actually happened to me once when I was a child, and so that tweet brought up that trauma, And I had to do work on that. But you know what we do? We take all of this hate speech and we disaggregate it and we code it and we give that data so that we understand the intersectionality of it. You know, when I get porn, when it's about political affiliation, when it's about age, when it's about all of it. We're going to win this fight.
No, Ashley, you're not going to win this fight because, you know, having gone through the vast majority of this video, again, I hate bringing up Anita Sarkeesian, but literally every time you open your mouth, you are like speaking an SJW talking point. The one thing I will say about this where you say we're going to win this fight, that was some tough talk. Unfortunately, you really, up until very recently when you suddenly discovered that you could cut off, when you managed to somehow take control of payment providers, you really hadn't accomplished anything. I mean, they shut down Gab for what, a week? I mean, you've taken down Alex Jones, you've removed Sargon of Akkad from Patreon, you've corrupted Patreon, which is not, again, right? All of the moves that you've made have resulted in not resulted in anything except maybe a temporary setback. In the meantime, the Manosphere has grown exponentially. MGTOW has grown exponentially. Oh yeah, well, I mean, Red Pill has grown exponentially. Maybe not the Reddit, which you managed to quarantine. But I mean, again, right? That's going to only slow things down. No, you're not winning. In fact, since you were one of the 4 women that tried to capitalize on Me Too and what Harvey Weinstein did, I'm going to speciously point out here that 3 of the 4 women that attempted to capitalize on the Me Too situation with Harvey Weinstein have gotten into trouble legally in the last year. You're the only one that hasn't. And I personally suspect that that's probably because you really haven't put yourself out there all that much. And given what's happened to the other 3, I really can't blame you. But no, you're not gonna win. You're losing. You have been losing, and based on what I've seen with feminism, which is like 100% of your audience, they took an absolute pounding last year.
There are a lot of solutions. Thank goodness. I'm going to offer just a few, and of course I challenge you to create and contribute your own. Number 1, we have to start with digital media literacy, and clearly it must have a gendered lens. Kids, schools, caregivers, parents, it's essential. 2, shall we talk about our friends in tech? Said with dignity and respect, the sexism in your workplaces must end. EDGE, the global standard for gender equality, is the minimum standard, and guess what? Silicon Valley, if L'Oreal in India, in the Philippines, in Brazil, and in Russia can do it, you can too. Enough excuses. Only when women have critical mass in every department at your companies, including building platforms from the ground up, will the conversations about priorities and solutions change. And more love for my friends in tech. Profiteering off misogyny in video games must end. I'm so tired of hearing you talk to me at cocktail parties, like you did a couple weeks ago in Aspen, about how deplorable #Gamergate was.
Wow, you cannot be serious. L'Oreal is not a tech company. That's a false equivalency. It is absolutely... to compare L'Oreal to a tech company is like comparing apples to oranges. It just doesn't work. Now, if you... like, the companies that have gone that route, I mean, it wasn't around so much at the start of 2017, but it is around now. Get woke, go broke. Look at what happened to Star Wars, for one. Look at what's happened to Google, for another. Look at what's happened to a couple of other companies that have tried to take away equality of opportunity and replace it with equality of outcome. You just simply get an inferior product. Now, that's not to say that there aren't good women out there, but no, I am not putting a woman in a spot that she doesn't deserve simply because of her gender, Ashley. And yeah, it sucks that you dislike Gamergate, but pretty much given the fact that you've done nothing but spout off Anita Sarkeesian talking points to a feminist audience, I mean, yeah, you get applause there, but I mean, yeah, if you want more women in STEM, then go to university and register in STEM. Don't take courses in third world feminist drum beating or an activism. You know what? Like, nobody is stopping you. Okay? Now, you don't like the video games? Well, then don't play them. In fact, whenever I go to a video game conference, or I see a lot of video games, I notice most of the gamers are male on the consoles. I mean, yeah, you try to twist that. At the peak of Gamergate, you tried to twist a study around to show that females make up 45% of the gamers. What female gamers play are the phone games, Candy Crush, etc. They don't play Call of Duty or World of Warcraft in nearly the same numbers. I hate going all MGTOW here, but this is a screaming example of why, MGTOW has grown so much in the past couple of years. Like, just an absolute complete detachment of reality. But then again, you just freely admitted, not just a couple of minutes ago in this video, that you live in a bubble.
When you're still making billions of dollars off games that maim and dump women for sport, basta, as the Italians would say. Enough. Our friends in law enforcement have much to do because we've seen that online violence is an extension of in-person violence.
You cannot be serious. You just rehashed the conservative Christian talking point for the 90s for video games, except you took it from a leftist perspective. Like, there was no evidence that video games caused violence back in the 90s, and there's no evidence to back up that claim now. Again, right? Anita Sarkeesian talking point. Next.
In our country, more girls and women have been murdered by their intimate partners than died on 9/11 and have died since in Afghanistan and Iraq combined. And it's not cool to say that, but it is true. We care so much geopolitically about what men are doing over there to women over there. In 2015, 72,828 women used intimate partner violence services in this country. That is not counting the girls and women and boys who needed them.
75% of all victims of violent crime are male. Women initiate 40% of domestic violence. And yet there's only one men's shelter in the entire of the United States. And there was two, if you count the one in Canada, before Earl Sobelman committed suicide. Again, another point which is, of course, conveniently ignored.
Law enforcement must be empowered with up-to-date internet technology, the devices, and an understanding of these platforms, how they work. The police wanted to be helpful when Amanda Hess called about the death threat she was getting on Twitter, but they couldn't really when they said, "What's Twitter?" Our legislators must write and pass astute legislation that reflects today's technology and our notions of free and hate speech.
People living in the U.S., thank your lucky stars that it's Trump and the Republicans that are currently holding most of the political power in the country. By the way, this is coming from a guy on the left. Had Clinton won the election, I think the United States would probably be looking at a situation very similar to what's happening in Britain and Canada right now. That legislation that Ashley's talking about there is probably very similar to Bill C-51 up in Canada, which basically means that defendant has to show his correspondence, including electronic, to the prosecutor before trial even starts. Which I think is a constitutional violation in the United States. Or you get Articles 11 and 13. Fortunately, right now, you don't have that in the United States, and just from what I've been listening from Ashley, yeah, people in the United States be very thankful for who's in power right now.
In New York recently, the law could not be applied to a perpetrator because the crimes must have been committed, even if it was anonymous, they must have been committed by telephone, in mail, by telegraph. The language must be technologically neutral. So apparently, I've got a pretty bold voice. So let's talk about our friends, white men.
White men, you're responsible for everything bad that's happened in humanity from the beginning of time. It doesn't matter whether you were actually there or not, you're responsible for it. When a black man kills another black man, it's the white man's fault. You're bad people. You're responsible for everything. And you should listen to me because I'm an upper crust, Hollywood busybody that comes from the most privileged class of people that has ever existed. That's why you need to listen to me. And I'm telling you that you're a bad person, and if you want my approval, you have to hand your balls over to me and be a good boy and be an absolute cuck. Thank you very much.
You have a role to play and a choice to make. You can do something, or you can do nothing. We're cool in this room, but when this goes out, everyone will say, oh my God, she's a reverse racist.
Okay, I've had the luxury of listening to this a few times, having to go through it all the way to the end. What you're going to hear after this is she's going to use the excuse that I got this from a white man. Therefore, that dismisses the racism that I just used. Using that same logic, if a black man told me that I could use the nigger word, and I'm just going to say it, I don't care, and then somebody gets offended by that, and then go, oh well, he said I could do it, that does not make it okay.
That quote was said by a white man, Robert Morris, chairperson, Price Waterhouse Cooper. He asked me to include it in my talk. We need to grow support lines and help groups so victims can help each other when their lives and finances have been derailed.
Yeah, let me guess, Ashley, none of this is actually been earmarked for men. Of course, none of it's been earmarked for men to help them through getting divorce raped. None of it is being sent to the two. I now know it's two. It's not one. I made that mistake earlier in this video. Shelters. It's not being earmarked to help men in child custody situations with child custody payments. It's not being used to support men in any way whatsoever. Because, according to the Duluth model, it's only men that are responsible for all the domestic abuse going on out there. Yep, that's it. It's all the men. Just listen to the Duluth model. Listen and believe it.
We must, as individuals, disrupt gender violence as it is happening. 92% of young people, 29 and under, witness it. 72% of us have witnessed it. We must have the courage and urgency to practice stopping it as it is unfolding. And lastly, believe her.
This woman raped me. Do you believe woman? Believe woman. Believe my truth.
Do you think?
Believe my truth.
Believe her. This is fundamentally a problem of human interaction. And thus I believe that human interaction is at the core of our healing. Trauma not transformed will be trauma transferred.
You know, at this point I'm actually kind of blown away. Yeah, I mean, how can someone get it and not get it? The only explanation I can have, having gone through this thing multiple times, having gotten near the end of the edit of the actual video itself, is that, I mean, we're not human beings to third wave feminists. That, having listened to this thing multiple times and just having, just look at what I did with Lauren Southern. I mean, I posted that in there to make a point. We're not human beings to these people. We're these big evil boogeymen, and we're all responsible, and we all have to bear responsibility for it, even if we didn't do anything. She talks about trauma not transformed is for trauma transferred. Feminists have been transferring. This whole video is you transferring your trauma onto men and making us feel guilty for the actions of some asshole that I or somebody else has never met. I mean, do you not see the hypocrisy of that statement in light of what you have just said? Of course you don't, because you're a third wave feminist, that's why.
Edith Wharton said the end is latent in the beginning, so we are going to end this talk replacing hate speech with love speech. Because I get lonely in this, but I know that we are allies. I recently learned about how gratitude and affirmations offset negative interactions. It takes 5 of those to offset 1 negative interaction. And gratitude in particular, free, available globally, anytime, anywhere, to anyone in any dialect. It fires the pregenual anterior cingulate, a watershed part of the brain that floods it with great good stuff. So I'm going to say awesome stuff about myself. I would like for you to reflect it back to me. It might sound something like this. I am a powerful and strong woman, and you would say, yes, you are. Yes, you are. My mama loves me.
Yes, she does.
I did a great job with my talk.
Yes, you did.
I have a right to be here.
Yes, you do.
I'm really cute. God does good work.
Yes, he does.
And I love you. Thank you so much for letting me be of service.
Just a quick observation here. I count 1 male in that crowd. You might see more, but I only see 1 male. Food for thought there. So yeah, that was the video. I'm just going to add a few things, just some conclusions. First of all, like the first thing that comes out is that, I mean, she doesn't specifically say it, but I mean, we both know the case. Women are the only victims of this. I mean, that is an absolute crock. I run a YouTube channel. I have to advertise. I have to put myself out there. I get assholes blowing back on me all the time. And again, you heard me talk about it earlier in this video, and I'll say it again. You don't hear me whining about it. The second part, the other part that really stood out for me was number 2, was the Orwellian double speak. That's what really jumped out at me when I first saw this video back at the start of 2017. She's like literally saying that censorship is an open marketplace. That's like saying that freedom is slavery, starvation is plenty, and war is peace. That the only difference between what Ashley Judd is saying in this video and what Anita Sarkeesian is saying is that it's Ashley Judd who's a more famous person. At least she does film and television, whereas Anita Sarkeesian was just the internet. But I mean, these are all of the issues that go through here are all Anita Sarkeesian, SJW, NPC talking points. The one that really kind of pissed me off, though, was the criminalization and the stigmatization of male sexuality. It's a tough haul for guys if they've got sexual issues or if they got sexual hang-ups. If this is how the current system is set up, designed to shame boys just for being boys, we're in a lot of trouble. And I don't mean maybe. Then, of course, Ashley just goes and takes a shot at white men. Unless you've owned slaves, unless you took part in colonization, you didn't do anything wrong. This thing about unconscious bias, how the hell are we supposed to fix that? Serious, like how? We have to actually be aware of it in order to fix it. That has got to be one of the most monumentally stupid things around. And also, and again, this goes back into this whole male privilege thing. Like somehow 0.1% of men that live at the top, somehow that means that all men underneath are somehow doing just as well, which just is not the case. That's just transference. I shouldn't have to feel guilty because there's a white man leading a corporation. That's got nothing to do with me. Especially when it comes to this particular issue. This is all just a attempt to judge people by groups as opposed to judging them individually. That's straight out of the cultural Marxist playbook. And then we get into the last one. And I said it in the video, and I'm going to say it again. Trauma not transferred is transformed, is trauma transferred. What do you think feminists have been doing for the last 40 years? I got news for you for feminists. I mean, we've hit our limit on it, or you're getting very close to hitting your limit. It's true. I had to deal with a lot of childhood trauma myself. Yeah, surprise, surprise. Guys have to deal with it too. The reason why MGTOW is doing as well as it's doing is because of the amount of trauma that women have been dropping at the feet of men. To a great extent. A big part of the reason why. It's not everything, but that's what it basically transforms to. I don't have to feel guilty about that. Getting in conclusion, what I can say about this particular video is that there's no, it's an NPC talk piece. There's nothing original in here. There's nothing really that stands out. The only thing it did is that it informed us of what was to come and what we're currently dealing with now, which is direct censorship from the social media companies out of Silicon Valley, which, by the way, isn't going to work long term. So anyway, this is Neroke 5. This is a long video. I might have to break it up into 2 parts. We'll see once I finished compiling and downloading it, and I'll see if I have to break it into 2 parts. But yeah, like, subscribe, and I will talk to you later.